Welcome to episode number 23 of the Real Rejects podcast, people. We got a good amount to get into today. Some Superman talk. What podcast would it be if we did not talk about some DC stuff? Yeah, boy. And also, some stuff about Henry Cavill as well. And The Last of Us. This is actually... I have feelings for sure about the departure of the creator departing the show. Vin Diesel said some stuff that is, I was like, what the hell are you talking about, man?
I love the setting of where he said it too. Like yes, I want to talk about that.
For regarding the next Fast and Furious, and one of those statements, I'm not positive feeling about one of the statements.
Interesting.
Some Mephisto theories that I'm just going to springboard off of Coy now that Mephisto is officially here in the McQ.
Yes.
And then, of course, some Patron cues. But before we go into any of that, little announcements. We next week is not going to be your typical podcast. It's going to be a deep dive spoiler talk between Coy, myself, and John. We already shot it, pre-recorded. And it's a really great talk. I really love that conversation. So, yes, it's a spoiler talk. But then the following day, we will be doing a live stream. And I know the last live stream did not go according to plan. So we have upgraded the internet. Additionally, we are bringing someone in who did a very professional live stream for us with the company that we've been working with. They worked with a much crazier set. So they're going to be coming in to make sure everything's working well for us.
Cool. We're
going to make sure this next live stream is not going to be the bitch that it's been for us the last couple times. I'm honestly, as owner of this company, I'm humiliated by how it's been. And I'm super embarrassed by it. Everyone's been very understanding. A lot of it's not our fault, but at the same time, I'm like, no, we can't be doing this with live streams like that.
Hopefully once it's fixed, it's fixed. Like once we figure out whatever, we can just do a live stream.
And we could do them more often too. Yeah, that's like the goal that we really, really, really want to do. So yeah, but the first piece of things, the news, I'm just warming up my brain. You're the first person I'm talking to today.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, I haven't had a single conversation, so my brain is like just getting warmed up right now. The first piece of news, this bummed me out. Michael Madsen.
Yeah, man.
Passed away. Every once in a while, celebrity death happens, and it could be people who I've never, ever seen in person, ever. But it does kind of hit me. And I didn't think I actually had that association with Michael Madsen. But when I felt it, I was like, I did grow up on a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing that's like particularly niche. It's more of the stuff that people like Reservoir Dogs. Some people, he's in Free Willy, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen Free Willy, but I know he's in Free Willy. The other one that I really grew up with him on is Donnie Brasco. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Pacino, Johnny Depp.
I was a kid, but yeah, same where it's like growing up on.
Yeah, really, really good. Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2 are top 10 for me, and his performance in Kill Bill Volume 2 is phenomenal. I remember that being like a big highlight. What about you? What Michael Madsen
for me,
movies?
like recently, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, watching that reminded me how much I love him. Like he's playing a character that is very familiar, but seeing him there, you're like, oh, right.
Yeah.
He was also on this very obscure show that was only on the PlayStation Network called Powers, and it's based off of a Brian Michael Bendis comic, and he was really good in it. But it was it didn't air on like a network. It was when everyone was doing their own streaming service, so it was just on PlayStation. So you had to have a PlayStation to watch it. But I remember thinking how great it was to have like an actor of that caliber on something that niche that kind of elevated the whole thing, because it was a Sharlto Copley show, the guy from District 9. Mm-hmm. He was the lead, and it was a Bendis comic, so that was great. But yeah, he was a guy that had that presence to him that whenever he was in something, you're like, oh, it's at least got that going for it. Like he's a staple of elevating a certain type of film.
Yeah. A lot of people associate him as like a tough guy.
Yeah, for sure. Like an Italian mafia, like that energy.
But as he aged, and especially with the roles that he was picking, you picked up more on like somberness, sadness that he would often portray. He was he's also in The Hateful Eight. He's one of like Tarantino's guys. And I remember even in Sin City, he's in the opening with Bruce Willis, things like that. I was like, I do have a lot of associations with Michael Madsen, and thinking like tough guy, but then seeing how he's transitioned more into like the somber guy. I actually don't know what he passed away from, but just sad to know that he's gone.
I heard he was a great dude too. My one of my friends, Shelby, worked with him on Powers, and he was the first guy to like introduce her to the crew and like made sure to like make everybody feel comfortable. And that always, whenever I hear that about an actor, especially someone that's been in the game for 30 years, it's always good to hear they're good people on set.
Usually that's why they've been in the game for so long.
Exactly. Yeah, it does. The town does kind of churn people out. It's not 1-to-1, but the people that make it are generally cream rising to the crop.
The more interviews I've been listening to with people, like how Seth Rogen's been making the rounds, it's made me pay more attention to how a lot more people point out how being nice goes a very long way in Hollywood. When they say like not, what you know, but who you know, a big part of that is the relationship building.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it seems like, oh, okay, that might make sense why some people who might not be like is the most talented actor or director or whatever, but they get to keep working because people, at the end of the day, this is a relationship business. And I think that's really important to like keep in mind.
It's a high stress, high pressure business. So I think why add the variable of someone that's a dick? It's already a powder keg. Like you don't need that. So unless you're like the most talented actor ever, don't be a dick. Even if you are, don't be a dick. Yeah. I think that's a really fair point. And the longer I'm in town, the more I'm like, how do I come across? How can I adjust?
Yeah. Yeah. Ego can be a death killer, man. But what do you guys think about Michael Madsen died? What do you guys think about Michael Madsen died? That's not the way to say it. List down below what your favorite Michael Madsen performances are. Let's honor him in the comments, please. I'm sure you've seen him before. If you don't know the name right off the bat, for sure you've seen him. It's that Reservoir Dogs scene is so iconic.
Yeah,
it's such an iconic moment.
And how cool is it? Like it is always so sad when someone passes, but how cool is it to say like leave your favorite blankety blank? Like to have such a body of work that there's so many different favorites. That's awesome. Yeah.
All right, now let's hop into the meat and potatoes of today's stories. Hall of Justice talk has been going around.
Yeah.
Where I watched the Brandon Davis, who I actually did an interview with here, and we will be putting that up. I want to say July 18th, we'll be putting up that interview. Great talk with Brandon Davis. If you don't know him, he's like a really great nerdy reporter. That's like such a oversimplification of who he is, but we really get vulnerable and in depth in that talk, and I really can't wait for you guys to see this side of Brandon. But I thought I liked the opportunity of interviewing a really popular interviewer. And anyway, he did an interview with Gunn during the same junket that I was a part of. And they did talk about the Hall of Justice side, and Gunn did confirm that it's still under construction, and it's owned by Maxwell Lord, who also owns the Justice Gang, which suggests the Hall serves as the team's headquarters, aligning with its corporate, privatized superhero theme. And the unfinished state of the Hall adds a layer of world building, showcasing a DC universe still in development. And of course, Gunn has positioned the Justice Gang as a precursor to a potential Justice League, which he did confirm does not yet exist in the DCU. We need to really see what Peacemaker does. And the way he's talked about Peacemaker is saying like, he's made it sound like essential viewing.
Sure.
As much as he's been saying things have to stand alone, I think for some clarification purposes, he has made it seems like that's going to be a necessity for clarification.
Yeah. I mean, he's mentioned that, the most of Peacemaker season 1 is canon, and the way he's navigated canon. Every time he's framed what canon's going to be, he's listed Peacemaker. So I imagine Peacemaker will kind of be the thing so we understand how canon's going to operate. So
some additional context that is already out there. The metahumans have existed for over 300 years. And they're called the Justice Gang at the moment, right? Now, Maxwell Lord owning it, Maxwell Lord is not going to be someone who owns the Justice League. A common theory I've been hearing going around, because this is to me is the pre to the Justice League. And a common theory that I've been hearing going around is Bruce Wayne will eventually buy the Hall of Justice.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then we will go into the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
But with the information that has been out from James Gunn directly, what do you think about them actually showing the Hall of Justice, letting the audiences know about it? And how do you think this is? Do you think this is actually a setup for the Justice League?
Yeah, I mean, you don't name something in the DC Comics universe of any kind just as blank without the knowledge that it's going to inform certain tones. I personally love the idea of letting buildings speak as world building. Like when you think about New York, there's certain buildings you think of. When you think about any city in our reality, and when you think about Metropolis, you think of the Daily Planet, you think of certain like landmarks. So if you've got those landmarks in the trailers, if you start to show those landmarks, it starts to make your city in fiction feel non-fictional. It makes it like it's got placeholders. So in literal world building, you can metaphorically world build. So I love the idea of having something that is not yet done show the evolution of it getting finalized. So I think it's a great use of narrative.
Do you have any theories for how the Justice League will actually come to form, with the precursor being Maxwell Lord owning the Justice Gang?
I have to imagine there will be commentary on corporate-owned characters, right? Like, it's tricky because it's very, like, I have strong opinions on our world, so I don't want to offend 51% of people, but I think it's very scary to live in a world where we're owned in such an obvious way. And I think it's really scary to live in a world where we accept more and more. Like, if you go to other countries, it's very obvious what they think of us. And if you talk about being someone that doesn't get paid time off or doesn't take vacation, like, everyone else is confused why we live the way we live. And at some point, the guillotines come out. But at some point, there is a breaking point. And I think that art needs to reflect the time in which it's made, just like, 70s Daredevil comics feel like 70s New York. And just like right after 9/11, there's things like The Authority and The Boys. And like we're reacting to our world. And I think corporations owning everything, and we're getting to the point where we're all kind of just wearing the NASCAR car logos on ourselves. Like, we are kind of entities of pure capitalism. And so when that breaking point comes, you need your art to be set up for it. And I think it makes sense to have all of these billionaire characters set up, because we're living in a world where we don't get to choose things. It gets chosen for us. And I think that's reflected in heroes. And I think you need characters like Superman, and you need characters like what I imagine Bruce Wayne might represent, which is, can you be a good person and operate in that system, or does the system need to change? He says daintily and carefully.
I subscribe to your theories of what they're building it around. You got Lex Luthor in there, you got Maxwell Lord, you're talking about the billionaires. And I love the idea of steering away from the cliche of there's a big baddie from another planet or something coming here, and now Batman or Superman or somebody has to, let's unite the League, which, again, I really enjoyed the hell out of Zack Snyder. I love that movie. Love that movie. Zack Snyder's Justice League. But, that's how Avengers formed. That's how Zack Snyder's Justice League formed.
So do something different.
That's the cliche route that you would expect for a formation. Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily cliche until the last, yeah, exactly. It's newly cliche. And so I think when the Avengers and when Zack was doing it, it was fresh.
Yeah.
But if you do it now.
Exactly. And I like that this idea that the formation of it is tying to a real world relevancy with potentially it not being an overshadowing commentary.
Right.
So I think what you're onto is actually a pretty good idea.
I mean, look at the trailers. You got Stag Industries, you've got Lord Tech, you've got Luthor Corps. We've seen,
and then you'll have the good billionaire and Bruce Wayne.
And that's what I'm curious about is Bruce Wayne going to be the good billionaire, or is it going to be using Batman to do altruistic things while Bruce takes kind of some blows for being yet another billionaire? What if Bruce Wayne isn't as beloved? Like, he could be more the playboy. If Batman is justice and Bruce Wayne is kind of a punching bag for being yet another billionaire not helping Gotham, I think that's a lot more interesting. And then you've got the opportunity to show that billionaires shouldn't exist.
Yeah, and whenever I read Batman comics, the Bruce Wayne persona is not one that's really shunned. It's like you get some of that in the backdrop, but he's more like, especially as it goes on, he's more philanthropical, and he's trying to do like good things with the money and the public perspective and honoring Thomas Wayne a lot of the time. But I think it would be cool if there's a clear dichotomy between it's like Spider-Man, but on a smaller scale.
Sure,
you know, like this guy, Bruce Wayne, is just hated. And then, so you would not suspect that this guy would be a public servant in the form of a vigilante.
The playboy, womanizer, the guy that's like, wasting money. And I think they touched on that in
Nolan.
Nolan definitely did.
It,
But I think they touched on the playboyness in Nolan. But I think they did a really cool job showing that sometimes money itself gets corrupted in the Batman.
Yeah.
Because the Thomas Wayne Foundation, like, that was the thing that messed everything up, right? Like Gotham was corrupt because of an altruistic act, because of corruption in the police, because of corruption in the other people touching that money.
Yeah.
So I think the groundwork is laid if they want to go that route with Batman to make it more public. That was in private. That was all of the criminals sucking on the teat. This could be something where it's like, why is Bruce Wayne not helping?
Yeah.
And that'd be interesting with billionaires being problematic.
It would be interesting too to have the way how Superman aims to be a story about a person with power doing good for the public, being a public servant, doing that with a real life, someone who's more like just a human being.
Yeah.
Showing, hey, billionaires, maybe be more like this billionaire.
And isn't that what art's supposed to do? Like, is to make you second guess your choices and to look at your morals and ethics.
Yeah.
So like, pretty popular character.
And it would be a cool demonstration of a parallel of like one person with metahuman powers, like so physically powerful, and then you have another person with a very different kind of power position who's the antithesis to like a Lex Luthor,
right?
You know, who's
someone
also
financially
powerful, but also, you know, scientifically engineering kind of mind. I think there'd be a lot of really cool ways where you are tethering it to even the Superman world,
and it feels different than what we've seen. That's what's so great about Batman is you can have two simultaneous Batman. The comics do it, and there are so many ways to tell. He's so multifaceted. It'd be great because that would give us something we haven't seen because you don't want to repeat yourself.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what I would hope.
We should do a video one day about like who we think that the Justice League villain will be.
That'd be fun. I have some pitches. I have some ideas of like where I'd go next, depending on this next little like announcement wave. Like we know some things. We know like the next 2 years because James Gunn's doing a really good job, in my opinion, of not announcing too far out. They did the one big announcement. Here's the new DCU. But since then, it's been like, okay, script is going into production, and then there's kind of just a retreat until they're ready to start doing press again. I like that so much more than what Marvel had been doing. Marvel's gotten way better, I think, lately. But
definitely.
What Marvel had been doing was like, here's everything. Oh no, we have to move that. We have to move that. That's canceled. And so once there's a little bit more context, I would love to make some like, oh, maybe this turns into this turns into this. Because I do think there's some really good opportunities with a Justice League being a slow burn and with it feeling more real than just like Unite the Seven. Because that was original then. It was awesome. But we can't do that again.
No, but I'm excited, man. I still do think Batman will be the unifier, though.
I think
it makes more sense.
Detective Comics DC, like that's why DC is named after. I think Batman's so important.
That's why they got David Corenswet.
Yeah.
DC.
Apparently he signs his name with the DC and then he puts a little logo around it.
Does he?
Which is cute. Yeah.
What a cute man.
That dude, adorable.
Adorable man.
Have you been watching some of the press?
Yeah.
Kissing babies, kissing puppies, like he's just like the Pope of Superman.
Speaking of David Corenswet, he put out he was being interviewed and he talked about his interaction with Henry Cavill and Tyler Hoechlin from Superman and Lois, an often very overlooked, amazing portrayal of said Superman. Here, I got the actual short. Let me just play it, and then we could just hear it.
Ready.
I had the pleasure of exchanging letters with two previous Supermans, Henry Cavill and Tyler Hoechlin. Both of them, interestingly, sort of said in their own words, I'm not going to try to give you any tips. And I think that's a very Superman thing. Superman's not so much for giving advice or dictating how other people should be. They really just conveyed to me an encouragement and a sense of, have fun with it, which I think is Superman's way of doing it too. They were very encouraging and we had a lovely exchange, and I'm excited to meet them one day. It'll be great when we can all get in a room together.
I actually haven't. That was the first time watching the clip.
It's so wholesome.
I saw the quotes, but seeing the clip, what I love about that is he's giving credit to them too. The way how a lot of people have been saying, I didn't have the thought until I watched it. How people are often being like, man, the way David Corenswet in interviews is even right here, like he just represents who he is as a person, seems so reflective of who Superman Clark Kent is already.
Yeah,
that's what makes him such perfect casting for it. And I love that he went out of his way when talking about Tyler and Henry to say his interactions with them, their personalities and their response, also very reflective of Superman. Like, oh, thank God it's like giving credit to them.
Yeah.
Also in the same way how he's been getting credit for it, which is so nice. And it's not like the conversation, dude. I mean, he could be lying. He could be bullshitting. It could have been awful. Henry could have been like, fuck off. I don't really know.
What a lovely letter.
But this is like James has talked a bunch about how he's had interactions with Zach along the way, even consulted him about like the trunks and
Yeah.
the cape and stuff. And, they took that photo together showing like, no, everything's really cool there. And now David Corenswet to be saying that it's a great way of not being like, hey, can you go out there and pass the torch? Can you go out there and say this is cool and that you're excited for us, But keeping I think it's more classy to keep it private. And then if they're asked about it, then they can say. Yeah.
I love that it's also letters. That also feels so Superman.
Yes, so personal.
it's either they were emails and that David Corenswet refers to emails as letters, which is very Clark, or they sent letters, which is so wholesome. Either way, like I love just the idea of letter sharing between Supermen. And I really like that the way he is portraying them is, like you just said, like in such a good light and such a positive thing, because there is no rivalry that the fans make it out to be. There isn't between James and Zach. There isn't between these gentlemen. There isn't a thing. And we're seeing, when Marvel was doing its absolute peak output and when DC was trying to find its footing again, there was so much animosity. And you don't go to the DC store, you don't go to the Marvel store, you go to the comic store. It all elevates itself. When Absolute started and there was tons of DC selling, it helped Marvel Comics too, because people would go in the store and be like, oh, I like Spider-Man. Like it all helps. The rivalries in all of this is just invented by the internet to get clicks. So hearing this, I love that it didn't translate to the guys. Like I love that there wasn't some sort of moment where Henry Cavill was like it clearly is just on the internet. And this is so beautiful to see. And it's also so much more realistic. If you look at a multiverse story, you've got Supermen meeting each other and being like, what's your universe like? This feels like that to me. It's just multiversal.
Oh, that was really pleasant and nice. And great way for us to tease. Probably should have done at the top of this. We shot some other Superman videos in advance. Ranking the super suits. Coy went through it all. There's like 17 suits.
Greg thought it would take 10 minutes.
Yeah, movies and show combination.
Yep.
And ranking the Superman performances. At the time of filming this, we haven't done it, and we might do it. Not for sure. Ranking the Superman movies. And of course, the spoiler talk. And we also go over like every cameo.
Yeah. We talked about the future potentialities.
Because we did see it. We just can't put out opinions. I mean, the only opinion I was able to put out was because I did that interview, which thank you guys for watching. So much love there. Holy shit. I should have thanked you guys at the top. Again, first conversation I'm having with anyone today. Right here. I haven't like opened my mouth
waking up
to talk to anyone today. It's just been in my head all day without like, I haven't really like opened my mouth to talk. But yeah, thank you guys for watching that interview. I was overwhelmed with the love on that. And
it's a great interview. I mean, I sent you my thoughts and I was like, I really enjoyed watching it. Because when you do something, it's really hard to watch other people do it when you're like, it's hard to not, what would I do in that situation when it's your favorite thing? Like, it's not even coming from a place of like envy or jealousy. It's coming from a place of like, I would pivot and and then like it's really hard to enjoy it. But when an interview's good, it makes it feel even more special that you're able to just like not yes and. Like I was able to just watch and I was so happy to see like you in the environment and see you crush it and to see you like thrive in a different way than I would have. And like you asking stuff that I wouldn't have is so wonderful. It was great, man.
Oh, thank you. I really do appreciate that. I needed to hear that. Thank you.
No, it's good, dude. I watched the whole thing.
I forgot exactly why I brought that. That was the only time I specifically, because I didn't get the interview offer until after we watched Superman. Just to make that clear for whoever that matters to, I would have been honest anyway, and I would have had different questions depending on my opinion of the movie. But that was I did ask like, hey, I did this interview, but we're also under embargo. Like I say stuff in here that alludes to how I feel pretty clearly. Is that okay? And they said, yeah, because I was part of the press junket.
Got it.
They said that was okay, but I cannot elaborate any more than that.
Sure am excited for a future date.
Yeah. So keep a lookout for more to come. And that live stream spoiler talk. All right. That's some positive news. Down to a bit of a downer for moi personally. What do you want to talk about? Last of Us or Vin Diesel?
I think they both have highs and lows from both sets of quotes. So let's do Vin Diesel. Let's do Fast and Furious because I'm a big fan of family.
Love to hear it, Coy. Love to hear
How I Met My Fiance, that franchise.
Where was this? Fuel Fest.
Yeah, Pomona. I followed the hell out of this. I wanted to go. I'm a dude. It's like Racer X is real. I love this. Where it was done.
I don't want to get myself in trouble
with Vin.
but I'm going to slightly get myself in trouble.
Okay.
Because he came out and clearly he's not in Dominic Toretto shape.
Oh, sure.
And I feel like it's important he is, or they lean into Vin Diesel's new body.
Hey, cars get body work all the time.
There was one comment I saw.
I am so excited to see where you go right now.
I am acknowledging that I thought this comment was funny. And look, I know what it's like to be overweight and struggle with weight. You guys saw me just a few months ago. I was 45 pounds heavier, right? I know what it's like to struggle with weight. And there was one comment that just hasn't left my brain. He needs to, oh shit.
I don't even know what the comment is. I'm enjoying this journey.
It's something that was said, I remember forgetting it. It's just something like he needs to fast furiously now. So messed up. I was like, that's pretty fucking funny.
I think as long as he switches to unleaded, he'll be fine.
I mean, by the time he's filming the movie, he'll be in great. The movie's not going out for a long ass time. He's got plenty of time, yeah. And he's been through ups and downs before with it, and whatever. He's a multi-millionaire.
He's just vibing. Also, he's like 50-something.
Yeah, frick, man. Like, who cares? But still, and to his credit, he's got one of those builds that even when he is overweight, he's still got that
he's like a trunk
Bane thing. He still looks like he can put up a fight and mess you up.
I still wouldn't fight this Vin.
So even if he just didn't even want to lose weight for the next Dominic Toretto performance, I'm like, he still looks imposing though.
I do think there was a surprise element that's causing everyone to be like, because we haven't seen him in like a year. So all of a sudden we're like, what?
Anyway, so he said this up there. He had 3 conditions. Do you believe that he actually is in control of these conditions? Because the Fast and Furious franchise has been dipping up and down financially and reception. And like the last one will cost like $2 billion to put together. Just something stupid. And it's taking us a long delay for a Fast X Part 2 that has very, very clear cliffhangers where the movie doesn't even feel complete.
I think he has more control than the average person because of how long he's been the face of it. And I think that it is, look at the franchise math. I think we talked about this in Mission Impossible, where when a new installment comes out, it helps everything that led up to it. I think Fast and the Furious 10 lost money, but it still didn't lose a lot of money because it helped 1, 2, 3. Like, franchise math is different because then your streaming rights renew and then your all of your TV rights change and stuff. But at the same time, he came out and he was like, we're doing Fast X 2 and 3. And I'm sure 100 executives were like, what? So I don't know when he says these things, who's vetted them. I don't know if they become true because he said them. I don't know if his contract's just like, you're the face of this, go nuts.
Yeah.
I want to see the lawyer side of whatever Vin Diesel's contracts are because I've never seen a frontman that isn't like, if Stallone does it with Rocky pre-Creed, I'm like, sure, it's your thing. But like, there's a lot of people. It's a family and it's a huge thing. What if this is true?
Yeah.
And like, I believe when he announces something, there is a conversation that happened before. But I've also never seen someone come out and say stuff so bold as you're getting a trilogy when no rumor had been of that.
Yeah.
And now I'm wondering, like, chicken or egg? Like, are they making it a trilogy because he said it? Was the plan? Obviously, the movie ends in a way you need another one, but we haven't heard anything about a 3. Or does it cross over with Triple X?
No,
is it Fast XXX?
Oh, that would not make sense. But
not at all, but I'd watch it.
But why does this need to make sense?
His twin Xander Cage, I'd watch that, dude.
It doesn't need to make
Triple
sense.
X3 and Fast X10 3.
Yeah. And then
Xander Cage comes in. He's family. He's the twin.
Dominic can be what Vin looks like now.
Yeah.
And then
Dominic
Triple X will be the buff version.
Yeah.
Then you can easily distinguish between the two.
And you bring an Exhibit because he was in X2.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't like one of these statements
Exhibit?
too.
That was Ice Cube.
Oh, I think it's just because his name is Exhibit. I thought it was him. You're right. I think it was Ice Cube.
Yeah, it's Ice Cube.
Exhibit's back.
Fun fact, I haven't seen a single Triple X movie.
What? Dude, they're fun.
One.
They're dumb. They're a lot of fun.
I would love to watch one. Anyway, let's get to the...
Speaking of Exhibit.
Let's get to the conditions that he apparently told Universal. The first was to bring the franchise back to Los Angeles.
I think that's true. Let's do one at a time. I think that's true. I think it's smart. I think you need to have something that feels like a bookend. We love a bookend.
We love a bookend.
But also, I think the heart of this movie is LA, and I think they've traveled the world a lot because I think that's fun. I think that makes it like a Bond thing. I think after 5, they really went that way. But I think if it's going to feel like a conclusion, it should come back home.
Mm-hmm. The second was return to car culture to street racing.
I mean, they announced this at Pomona. They announced this at a place that is it's like the real life street racing version of the movie, but down the street. I think that's totally real. When I did Fast X trailer press, they really focused on car culture, and they had what was effectively like a Comic Con for Fast X trailer announcement. Like there was a concert. Like it was insane. It was the coolest thing I'd been to because I'm a huge fan of this franchise. Like I want this to do well. I definitely think that's something that they need to make sure is a factor.
Well, I remember F9 wanting to go back to the past and the roots. And
yeah.
Even though pacing-wise, I recall it kind of dragging down the experience of the movie, it's clearly within Vin Diesel's desire to go there, considering what that movie was already exploring. And what the franchise has evolved into, which is not believable. And I remember in the last movie, there was a stunt with a bike person, and all they do is go over this little railing. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that shot. It is so small compared to what that movie does, but I remember seeing that and being like, whoa, that's crazy, because it's real.
Yeah.
Because it looks real. And I saw Tokyo Drift like maybe just last year for the first time. I reacted to it. And I was so taken aback by, oh my God, this looks incredible by how real it is. And obviously, I think audiences are craving that again, the realism.
Could F1. Like the movie is thriving off of strapping you to the car.
Yeah.
I think if they can do something that feels more like F1 meets Fast 1, then we're going to be in a spot where it's like, not only are we coming home, not only is the franchise about coming home, not only is it about LA, but it gives a plausible reason to not have a Fiat launch to the moon.
Exactly. You know, like the bigger CGI spectacle stuff, it's not winning over audiences, and it's also costing the movie so much more money.
Fast X didn't do well.
No, it didn't.
And that's because of that. I think anyway. I think we love the family, but we want them home.
All right, here's the third one. The third is the reunion of Dom and Brian O'Connor. That is what you'll get in the finale. Now, in the video, the crowd is freaking out. Mm-hmm. And I'm more on the side of, ooh.
It's the thing I don't like too.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it is inevitable. Gonna be, you got two choices. You do some weird AI deep fake thing with dead eyes. You do whatever you can to make it look best. I know he's got a brother and all, and whatever.
He's got 2 brothers that look a lot like him.
Still. And then you have the option to just recast, which no one would want.
I do not think they would. Like Paul Walker is.
No, I think that would be awful. And some people do bring up when they're talking about later movies after Paul Walker's death of like, don't you think Brian would be here? Don't you think Brian would care? And I think it's one of those movies where the audience is so aware that Paul Walker died.
It's part of the culture of the film. And they do mention Brian in the movies a lot. Where they're like, Brian's watching the kids. Brian couldn't make it.
So like they keep the presence of him alive.
That's what I love about them, is that Brian is alive, but Paul has passed away. Yeah. I don't want to see... I love that they finished the role he shot most of with his brothers. I thought that was really beautiful, and I thought the end of the film having them split was and that song that is to this day. I don't cry often. That will not fail to make me cry.
It's a beautiful moment.
It's so powerful. Even just the song, I get chills because I associate it with that moment.
Yeah,
that would undermine that moment.
Yeah, it totally would undermine that moment. And there's like a way you could do it where maybe people interact with him or he has some monologue to him, but you don't actually see his face, one of those like obscuring things. But the way he's talking about it is making him sound like a reunion.
I'm afraid he's going to be like a co-lead.
That's what I mean. I don't agree with this decision at all. And I feel like seeing the reception from a crowd in the audience can be very misleading on how it actually will go down. And I think it would be a very negative response.
I think this is an example of us being very deeply in the industry and people are going to love it.
You think so? You think people would love that? I don't feel like people will love it.
I think it's ghoulish. I think it is digging up a dead body, and I think it's not great. But I think his family is signing off on it. His mom was there for the announcement. His brothers have been there, and I think that the average moviegoer is going to be like, "What a great use of technology!" And like people are. dude, like we are so insular, and even like maybe most of the audience that watches us, this is a movie centric thing. I think people that are like in race culture that grew up with Paul, they want to see the return of the Busta. And like, I love the franchise keeping Brian alive, but I don't want to see him because I'm going to think of Paul not being here.
Yeah.
And that's going to be painful. Like I mean, this is where I feel like I can blend my personal and my movie love. But I started wearing Converse because friggin' Paul Walker did. I lived in Glendale for 3 years because I knew Paul Walker lived in Glendale just because I thought it was cool. When I first moved to LA, I wanted to be Paul Walker so bad. I bleached my tips in high school. I bought a 95 Honda Civic for like $4,000 and put $5,000 into it over the course of 2 years. I bought the car before I could legally drive. I bought it at 15. Like I worked on a car for a year till I could drive it because of Paul Walker. I was obsessed. I got pulled over in so many tickets for underbody LEDs. Like this is my franchise because in comic stuff, I grew up reading comics and I became an expert. So it's something that like I got to do for work. Fast and the Furious never felt like work because there wasn't like lore to know outside the movies, really. So Fast stayed fun. So I love the franchise because it doesn't feel like any part of me is like a historian. So growing up with Fast, every single one felt like an event. It felt special. It felt all these things. I feel like bringing Paul back would feel like the last 3 or 4 movies, him being a presence, it would undermine so much of the integrity of keeping Brian alive. And like, I just feel like it's really in poor taste, but I don't think the average person will.
Yeah, well, there's also, then I think it puts more holes in the other ones that he's not in.
I know.
Because then you're like, well, why wasn't he on any of these missions?
Really babysitting those kids. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I don't know. And also like the relationship that they all had with Paul, the man himself. Like, I don't know that Paul Walker would want, like he was an environmentalist. I don't know that he'd want all of the resources used to dig up his body and put it in a movie. Like it takes a lot of CGI and technology that is harmful to the planet. Like, I don't know.
I think sometimes in an attempt to honor something, you somehow dishonor something.
Yeah.
And I think that this would be the case.
But like, again, his mom and his brothers clearly are excited about it. And I want to respect that they are excited about it. Like I want to give respect to the family because at the end of the day, if the family's happy, that's as close as we can have to Paul being happy. And I know I met Cody at the Fast Trailer event and talked his brother, Cody Walker. Sorry. Cody Walker's his brother that does a lot of the work of him in the movies. And I met him and I told him how much his brother meant to me. Like I kind of just did the same thing where I was like, this is a lot of data and I'm so sorry. And like he sat and listened. He gave me a big hug. He thanked me for telling him. We talked for like 20 minutes about his brother. He told me stories. He's like, I want you to like feel like, you know, you got to connect with him even though he's not here. And I was like, what a selfless thing for you to think about me. Cause you know, you're like, let me go talk about your dead brother. Like it felt weird for me to even approach. And I was like, is this the worst thing I could do? And then when he was like, I want you to feel more connected, I was like, what a selfless dude. And that to me is the only good side, is it feels like his brothers and his mom are trying to give people that cared about the guy a little more of him. And they're trying to rekindle and keep him alive in that way. And if the technology's there. So I'm very conflicted. But I personally, if his family is not a part of the equation, don't want it. But if his family's involved, I'm happy for them to get to feel that connection with people because they are clearly connected to the audience.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, throw it to you guys in the comments. Are you cool with Paul Walker returning in this fashion? Leave your thoughts down below. Okay. Torn. All right. All right. Last of Us. Neil Druckmann. Neil Druckmann, for you guys who don't know, is the creator of Last of Us Games 1 and 2. He directed an episode of Season 1. He directed an episode of Season 2. He directed my favorite episode of Season 2, the flashback episode.
Oh, that's great.
Joel and Ellie, through the years. And that's one of my favorite episodes of all time from the show. And Last of Us 2 is my favorite video game of all time. Apparently, he has left this series going into Season 3. He says, I made the difficult decision to step away from my creative involvement in The Last of Us on HBO with work completed on Season 2 and before any meaningful work starts on Season 3. not the bullshit they've done so far. Now is the right time for me to transition my complete focus to Naughty Dog and its future projects, including writing, directing, our exciting next game, Intergalactic, the Heretic Project. Co-creating the show has been a career highlight. It's been an honor to work alongside Craig Mazin to executive produce, direct, and write on the last 2 seasons. I'm deeply thankful for the thoughtful approach and dedication the talented cast and crew took to adapting The Last of Us Part 1 and the continued adaptation of The Last of Us Part 2. It's good PR. Good PR maneuver.
Good plug for the new game, too. Nice timing. I love that he's like, this is going to get headlines. I'm going to put my new game in it.
Yeah. And anything that I'm going to say in whatever you say is purely speculation.
Oh, yeah. I don't know this dude.
Yeah, I don't know this guy, but I do know fandom. Now, to give some context, obviously you've been aware of like backlash this season has gotten, Bella Ramsey discourse and such. And I was around when the game was getting the backlash. Like if you thought like the backlash, it's weird because the backlash that happened was it leaked that, spoilers for if you haven't seen the show, that Joel dies in the game and that at some point you will play as his killer, Abby. And in the game, he dies very early on, and it's so much meaner in the game, so much meaner. And the character Manny in Neil Druckmann actually plays him in the game. He like spits on Joel's dead body. It's so mean. But Ellie is so beloved in that game, and Ellie is fucking awesome in that game. So then you have this flipper that happens when the show comes out, where everyone like half the people are really responding negatively to Bella Ramsey's performance. But that game was incredibly polarizing, incredibly divisive. And Neil Druckmann had to put up with so much shit for so many years. Then they go to The Last of Us Season 1, which is so loved, so great. And I can imagine for him, it's, this is nice to be back in the positive side of this fandom.
Yeah.
You know, because as much as there's people like me who like love the game and it considers it one of their favorites, I know when you're in that position, the angry people will definitely sour your experience. And after writing and directing this epic, a very personal epic of grief, and then 2 comes out, and then they do some deviations from the game. There's a lot of add-ons and stuff, and the viewership's dipping, the reception's dipping, everything about it's dipping, and the hate has risen again. I totally get why a guy would be like, fuck this. Why would I want to be around for this? That's my speculation on why he left. It could very well actually just be that he left for the game. It absolutely could just be. I think there's a push of, I just don't want to deal with this shit. I got to move on with my life, because it's been like many, many years of Last of Us, because you're just familiar with the showtime, but there's the game time, you know? And for a creative like him, I'm sure there's a creative side that wants to creatively do something different and also doesn't want to relive a lot of this bullshit, you know, that you got to go through. So that's just my thoughts. But why do you think do you think there's more to why he's leaving?
I think I'm only reviewing Superman in the future, and I don't want to be on the internet. And I didn't make it. I can't imagine dealing with people about something you created versus something I can't even say what I thought of Superman, but I am excited to. To not be excited about something is hard. And so I'd imagine going into something not knowing if you can navigate your baby being ridiculed. That'd be hard. So I think the internet takes a lot of joy away from creation. And so if you know it was already vitriolic once, I don't know why you'd want to come back. Like, I don't know what the perk would be. I don't see any reason to do season 3 at all. Like, you know, it's just going to be bad. So like Caitlin Dever's performance, I would never take that role.
Yeah.
She's fantastic as an actress. And I don't know the character. And there were a few times I was like, I'd like if she was a little bit like more physically intimidating, and then people would be like, she's in the game. And I was like, cool. It just feels like that's the character. But like that was as close to a negative as I got, is just like that was my reception from completely being removed from the culture. What she's probably going through, I cannot imagine what it would take to be worth that stress. So if you can not deal with it, like I get, especially if you've got other stuff going on, it's not like he's stuck. But again, I don't know the dude. I would not want to be in that position, and it would suck because it's something you created. Like it's your baby. It's yours. So yeah, I don't know. I would leave.
I don't blame him for leaving, and it might be better for the creatives too. On the show, like Craig Mazin, where he very much loves the game. It's very clear how much he loves the game. But maybe sometimes they do it. I think the show thrives a lot of time when they actually steer away from. Sometimes I feel like, you would have been better if you stuck to the game. And other times they take creative choices. Swings, you got to take swings. You can't have some success without some failures. Like the battle at Jackson, not in the game.
And it's awesome.
And it's an amazing standout fight. So yeah, that's what I mean. Like that was the show's own creativity, originality right there. And
it should be different.
I think it's an adaptation.
Yeah, you don't want a translation. It doesn't work. You just play the game.
No, yeah. And the show leans more into drama than action.
Yeah.
In a game, you have consistency of action because you're always playing. Yeah. I don't blame him for leaving. So like any rumors about like him and Craig Mazin have consistently publicly praised each other. A lot of people know how to play nice. Promotion is very much political, so maybe there was behind the scenes trouble or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, I could think of a million reasons why he would suddenly leave. It does seem like it's odd after so much backlash of this season, viewership dip, and now he's leaving the ship.
Yeah,
there's like it seems like there's so much more than just I gotta focus on this new game.
Sure,
but. That would be so much better for his soul.
Yeah,
to do that.
I always care about the human element, and if he's going to be happier, I don't know him, but I always want a person to be happier than upset.
Yeah, and it just makes more sense to me for a creative to be like, I got to move on from this bullshit.
Yeah,
so, I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you like actually okay with him leaving? Do you prefer it? The irony that Bella Ramsey gets so much more shit than Caitlin Dever. As you were saying that, I was like, man, what an ironic thing. Because Abby, obviously because of what she does in the game, that you have to play at her at some point, it's like the backlash for the person playing her, the character, was unbelievable. And it just stayed so strong for so long. And I went into it being like, poor Caitlin Dever. And now it's like, I rarely hear about people bitching about her. It's mainly about Bella Ramsey, which is so crazy. What a flip.
The girl in the game was Sarah Johnson?
Laura Bailey, I think.
Laura Bailey played her.
Ashley Johnson, plays Ellie. Laura Bailey plays Abby.
I thought it was someone with the same last name. It wasn't. Okay.
Yeah. Strange times. Strange times. Fun Easter egg for you. It's when the dad in season 1, when Pedro kills the dad, one of the nurses is Laura Bailey, the voice actor.
Oh, that's cool.
Of Abby. There to watch her daddy die.
I also think Craig Mazin, was he part of the game's creation?
No. Just the show. After Chernobyl, and then he took on that.
Got it. Okay, so he had nothing. I could also see that being a little easier to shoulder.
Yeah, you're doing your own thing.
Yeah, you're making your choices without the weight of the past and all the hate you got.
All right, guys, leave your thoughts down below. I just wanted to pick Coy's brain here before we go into some Patron cues, because it's been confirmed. Sacha Baron Cohen. When I first heard the rumor years ago about Sacha being Mephisto, I imagined him in like some terrible suit and it being funny.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought it was going to go this way.
I didn't know if it would be like, I was always so curious what his portrayal would be.
I thought of Jim Carrey and Robin Williams when they got to do drama and how much they know what I mean?
I thought it'd be more like Riddler.
Oh, interesting.
It's like Sacha Baron Cohen. I mean, I've seen Sacha Baron Cohen do. He's in that Aaron Sorkin movie.
Yeah.
He's great in that Chicago Trial, whatever that was called.
Trial 7, Chicago 7.
Yeah, he's really, really great. That's the dramatic role I can recall him in, because he's in Hugo, but he's very comedic in that. Even though it's a Scorsese film. So yeah, and he's in Sweeney Todd too. He gives great performance as well. But again, there's like a humorous element. This is, there's a weight to it. And it's weird having Mephisto here. It's such an indication of the times of the MCU in such a strange period, right? it was only dawning on me, I think, last night when. Do you remember the WandaVision time? So many people hadn't even heard of who Mephisto is, but suddenly everyone heard of who Mephisto is because Mephisto was the main theory. So even if you didn't know Mephisto before people speculated,
there were videos.
Yeah, everyone was suddenly like, I can't wait to see Mephisto, even though I've never heard of this character.
My favorite character I met last week.
Yeah, it was the main speculation, didn't show up. And it was the talk of the town. It was the hype. It was such a hype. And then all these years later, we finally get it, and it's not even like a trending subject. It's sad.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors. I mean, the reception of the show is not. It's positive. So I would say the reception of the show is positive, but it's not glowing.
It's also not a conversation.
No,
like
it's not.
It's just a reception.
And the
it
viewership
was received.
Viewership's not good.
Yeah.
So, do you think they'll still use more Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto? And if it's not for Ironheart season 2, what other capacities do you feel like they'll use Mephisto in?
So many places to use him. I think it's interesting the timing when the show was supposed to come out would have lined up great with Multiverse of Madness.
Exactly.
And I think that was the direction. I think they had pivoted to Cosmic after Guardians did well, and they had done a bunch of Cosmic stuff, and then when the Cosmic stuff stopped doing as well, they were going to pivot to Occult. And then when the demonic stuff is like, it got messy around the time, I don't think necessarily that was the problem, but I think it was chicken egg, like both things were happening. I was like, this is a mess, but also, and so I think if it had come out around the time of Multiverse, it would have been the biggest conversation. It would have been insane. It would have been such a moment. I think now they're doing so much damage control and they're trying to really only play their varsity players. They're really like, we've got the Avengers and we're Fantastic Four. X-Men are coming. They're not really taking the creative, bold, risky swings. I think we would have gotten more things like Werewolf by Night. I think we would have gotten Blade. I think we would have gotten the things that were going to be like darker and more evil feeling. And I think he would have popped up a lot. I think now they're going to only use him when they know they've got a guaranteed thing. I think Midnight Suns is still possible. I think Ghost Rider might get introduced in Doomsday. He could appear in Ghost Rider. I could easily see him tying into the Spirit of Vengeance powers and like the Penance Stare and all that stuff. I think it'd actually be a decent villain.
That's right. Mephisto's in Ghost Rider, the movie.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah.
I think he'd actually be a good villain for a Ghost Rider film. And Sacha Baron Cohen was incredible on camera. Like that was such a cool performance. So I could see him being utilized in other things. And I could also see there being an element of this story continuing into a Young Avengers or a Champions. Champions is like a more hometowny, smaller stakes Avengers with a younger team, but they do more like local stuff. And that could be like the start of it where like there's that deal and you get like a redemption arc with her doing good in that team dynamic. But I don't think we're going to get necessarily a season 2 as much as I enjoyed the show. Me and Aaron had a lot of positive things to say. And I feel like there's also an element of like, what's his contract? And is it something where we'll see him alongside other villains in Doomsday? Like, will we be like, oh my God, we got all these heroes. What if it's like, oh, we've got all these villains too? Like they could do the comic thing, like the opening of X-Men where there's just rows of both.
My theory?
Yeah.
He's going to be in Vision Quest.
Oh, I'd love that.
I think they'll bring back Scarlet, and then there's rumors about them like shooting a potential ending with Scarlet Witch. I don't know what's fucking real.
It's supposed to be the trilogy, right? Like they were saying it was WandaVision into Agatha into this into Vision Quest. That was how they described it. I could see that.
Yeah, I would love that. But I think Mephisto would appear in that.
I like that.
You know, because they introduced him in a television landscape. It would be the way to pay off all the massive theories. I bet they didn't even consider Mephisto for Ironheart until all the speculation was happening.
Right. But then it's great for the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
They really did work for what they made the character.
I would love to see him and Paul Bettany bounce off each other too.
Actors, like Shakespearean actors acting.
I feel like Vision Quest will surprisingly be a hit. It doesn't sound like the kind of show that would be, but I feel like it will be.
I think it's going to be all the things I liked about the first 90% of WandaVision.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be well written, it's going to be interesting, it's going to be philosophical.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it'll be deeper than people expect, and I think it might. I don't know if it'll be like super integral, but
I think it'll be like Loki.
Hopefully,
where it's like wicked smart.
Hopefully. Anyway, I'm glad we finally have Mephisto, and I'm glad Sacha Baron Cohen's getting a lot of praise for it.
Yeah, he's so good in it.
It's such a weird feeling to be like, damn, it's not as hype as it once was. Huh?
I am so curious how Fantastic Four does. I'm so curious how this summer does because I looked at all my numbers on my YouTube recently, like the last 6 months of videos, and my biggest videos are still Thunderbolts and things in the comic book space. But that's my algorithm. Like I am a comic book correspondent. I'm someone known for comic books. But still the biggest things were Thunderbolts. And Thunderbolts did not do well. So it was really interesting to see like double to 3 times the viewership on that than like other movies that I enjoyed even more. I liked Thunderbolts a lot. It's my number 3 of the year. But I talked about a ton of things. Thunderbolts is still my most viewed thing. And then to see things like Ironheart, to see things like Thunderbolts that came out and didn't have the impact, what is the pop culture moment if not, like, comic book movies have been in power for a long time. I'm wondering how this goes next. Like, event films feel like all that people are really showing up for. And that's really unfortunate. There's no way to read the zeitgeist. There's no way to create a Barbenheimer. There's no way to like assume something's going to do well. And then you've got stuff like Sinners that becomes a big moment and lasts, like its legs are forever. But theaters can't survive if we're gambling all the time. We need to know some things will buoy a 3-month dry spell. So it worries me that something like Mephisto, that 3 years ago was the biggest random out of nowhere moment, even last year might have been huge. It coming out this year and not having a conversation around it worries me to the macro as a comic fan, but also as a movie theater fan and as a fan of pop culture. I don't feel like, other than reality TV, anything's taken that spot. And reality TV is junk food. Like, I personally don't love reality TV. Like, no disrespect if you do, but like, we need things that feel like they're important.
Sure.
So Mephisto feels like a canary in a coal mine moment where I'm like, okay, we don't know what's going well, and they got to make this stuff, and I love it. That's selfish. But what is the thing if not this?
I do wonder how things will perform, because like I could see Superman not performing that well internationally,
which is interesting because we can't know until.
I think it's just so like American associated, even though they're going for global appeal. But I don't know. I could be very wrong. I'm saying that like if there's a version I could see it not doing. I think domestically they'll do great. Jurassic World Rebirth has the second lowest cinema score, which surprised me, considering everyone being like, it's the best Jurassic World movie.
I thought it was fun. Yeah. I think it's really like a return to some form.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but that's apparently that. Fantastic Four, I'm not really hearing too much like hype about record-breaking ticket sales and shit like that. And
tickets did go on sale right with that last trailer. So I feel like we should have heard.
And it was really easy for me to get good seats.
Really?
Oh, my favorite at IMAX Universal, which is hard.
Yeah, I remember years ago we would team up and be like, "You got on it, you got on it."
Freaking 3 a.m. sometimes, 5 a.m, and you keep getting locked out, and every time you try to
things would crash. We were on each other's entourages, so one of us would get through and be like,
"Oh my god!" And I buy multiple shows just in case. And now it's. I remember being late, and I was like, "Oh shit, this happened hours ago." Like, oh. Pretty good amount of availability right here.
I'm just worried, and this is just a universal concern. Like it's even outside the comic book space.
Yeah,
you can't count on a Sinners because they're going to try to manufacture another one. But Ryan Coogler's Ryan Coogler. I know the next Ryan Coogler film I'm showing up for, but I don't know what they try to approximate Sinners into. And I just worry about the landscape of entertainment if we keep letting things that are variables and or guaranteed junk food win.
I think re-releases are a great thing.
I love it.
I think re-releases are doing so much better numbers, and they used to, like, re-releases used to not do well.
Yeah.
And now I think movies are kind of thriving off of re-releases.
Did you hear they're re-releasing Spider-Man in 4K and the new cut?
Oh,
dude, September.
Yeah.
So excited.
Oh, I know.
Like, I'm there.
I know about that. Ninja Turtles are re-releasing, and I was like, I was planning on reacting to it because I only saw it like when I was a child, and I don't recall it. So I was like, oh, it'd be cool to react to this. And oh, shit, they're re-releasing Ninja Turtles. Jaws, 50th
The Matrix
anniversary.
at Cosm, which we need to go to.
I did get tickets for Olivia and I for a date.
Going without me.
Maybe.
I see how it is.
Join us.
The 4 of us should go.
I don't do much dates.
I invited you.
You did.
Like, very specifically. I said, this needs to be a me and you. I literally made it like
you went already without me.
I didn't see all of it. I had to leave for
work.
work.
What do you mean you didn't see all of it?
I didn't get to stay for the movie. I had to go
thought
work.
You did.
No, I saw like half.
Oh.
But that's why I said we have to go, because I had to leave.
Bad. I thought you already. I was like, this won't be a big deal because Corey already saw it.
Literally, a bro date was just broken on camera. We got to do it because it's like both of your. How many of favorite movies?
I'll look up the day and we'll get you and Anya tickets.
I think it'll be like a fun thing for us to do. Did you do the dinner thing or just the? There's a vegan option. I thought of you. I haven't texted you that.
I can't eat food.
Comes in here body shaming Vin Diesel. Reveals body dysmorphia.
Literally go to everything with pre-packed food.
You do. I've seen it.
Everything I go to.
Man brings his carrots.
Pre-packed food. Freaking tubs of yogurt. And I don't.
Guys, losing 45 pounds is not easy.
And I still got more goals to get through on it. So I'm picking up the dinner and drinks.
It's a cool part of the experience. All I'm saying.
I bet it is, Coy.
But yes, re-releases are dope, and I think it's effective.
I did get Jaws tickets
Yeah?
on IMAX. Yeah, it was I've never seen it in the theaters, and I thought it'd be cool to watch that. I know Olivia won't watch with me. One of you guys can come with me.
So Jaws? I've never seen it in theaters either.
Yeah.
When is it?
I don't know.
All right.
End of August.
We'll figure all this out off camera.
Olivia won't watch it.
She doesn't like Jaws?
No. It's she is so much of an animal lover. She can't watch anything happen to animals.
Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. She is. Yeah.
She'd be on
Jaws side.
I saw it 1,000%.
You don't need a bigger boat. Kill those humans.
1,000% be on the shark side. Yeah. I know her too well.
Bruce is the protagonist of her.
Actually, it's a shark being a shark. It's
true.
It's
in their water.
Shark's not like, oh, I'm crossing the line here. Like, the shark is being a shark.
His turf, the ocean.
Yeah. Like, they're invading, and it's the part of the chain.
Yeah.
Anyway, are you going to join Coy and I at the Cosm event and interrupt our double date?
Yeah.
Let us know. Go on the Fever app. Do it. All right, let's end this off with some Patron cues. Pavel Kaczmarek. So I know you guys can't comment on whether or not you like Superman, but do you know when the reaction review embargo lifts? Tuesday or Monday's social media, Tuesday's review.
So funny. I've been so nervous to say anything that someone asked me that and I was like, I blank faced that. I'm like, is that public? But yeah, I'm hoping.
Let's see if I get in trouble.
Let's find out together. I'm
also curious how this whole thing works because in the last episode, you said you can't even allude to having an opinion, but then okay, I get what you're getting at here. Yeah, like I said earlier in this video,
permissions.
I looked out for this. I bet I'm one of the few who was like, hey, I want to be respectful. Like me, Warner Brothers.
Please love me.
Love me. Look at me looking out for and reviewing embargoes.
Dude, I think that's such a good bare minimum. I know people don't. I think it's really interesting that people get called bootlickers for supporting a studio when they're making art. I think that there is a problem with business and art combining, but if you like movies, you should respect that they come from a place. I think it's really interesting how people are an anti-studio movement. I think they're if you don't like a boss or if you don't like an individual, that's one thing. But when a studio is tens of thousands of people and they've given you art, I think respecting that is important. It's a weird thing when people get antagonistic about certain elements, but not others.
I think, like I've said in a much, much earlier podcast, wrestling era, I think really contributed to that. Hating Vince McMahon, but being part of the show. Because you're right. It's not cool to love Warner Brothers, but it's okay to love the movies.
Right. And they don't realize that it's not just a few people. It's all the PR and it's all the there's thousands of jobs that you're making stressful if you don't do a thing. And that's why I don't understand people wanting to spoil and wanting to leak. It's not only you're affecting the art and the artist, but you're affecting everyone.
Yeah. It's not just Zaslav.
Right. It's so many people.
It's not just Iger.
Yeah.
There's
so crazy to me.
A lot of people there.
But then they're like, yay, government officials and the cops. And I'm like, what is the hypocrisy? It's crazy.
I don't know. Daphmer, thank you for the question and for being a royal reject. I hope you're all doing well this day. I'm doing okay. Coy and I are both lethargic. So tired. My question is that for the DC films, as it grows in characters and universe, how far along should they wait before introducing things like magique? When I saw Dr. Fate in Black Adam, I was so excited to see what DC would do with their magic users versus what Marvel did. And now that you're saying this, I'm like, oh, a good Superman villain would be a magic villain.
It is a weakness of his.
My favorite magic, and then, Supergirl. There's a planet they go to that was specifically designed with magic to take on Superman.
Yeah.
This is me just trying to insert. I've made progress.
He's read more. Reading. How far are you in?
5.
You read 1 this week?
I'm reading it. I'm leaving here at like 10 p.m. to midnight every day, and I eat dinner so late, and I like it's 1 a.m. I'm gonna read a comic. Yeah, I'm not really like it's been hard, but I'm enjoying it though.
That's more important than rushing.
It gets better every comic. I'm just trying to finish it before the live stream. Anyway. My favorite magical character has always been Dr. Fate. Although I wouldn't know what this universe's Justice League would look like, having a character tied into the mystic side of things could add an interesting flavor to this team. Go watch the words. It's fully transparent. I don't even recall if there's a magic thing in Superman. Honestly. But yeah, I think is there anything in the lineup that's magic that was announced? I'm totally blanking on.
I will say comfortably that James Gunn is someone that called it gods and monsters and is very intentionally world building. I would be surprised if James Gunn didn't want to start as many elements in the first few projects as possible, right? Because like you're not doing the thing that Marvel had to do, which was like spoon feed you weird stuff. You can go crazy because we're used to it. The average person, like not comic people, don't know Superman is DC and Spider-Man's Marvel. They just go like, oh, it's a comic movie. Like I had my grandma on Marvel Movie News way back in the day when I first started hosting, like way back in the day. It was called Marvel Movie News. I think it was a decade ago. I had my grandma on and I was trying to like make sure she got some camera time because like this was her first time on a TV show and it was really cute. She was so excited. So I was like, oh, Mama, what's your favorite like Marvel character? Like anyone, who's your favorite? And she was so proudly like, Superman, and described Superman. And I was like, people don't know. There's a difference. So the beauty of what James Gunn gets to do is we've already been running in this Marvel world and now DC can be like sprinting. So if I was going to start a universe, I would have a lot of different things. That way when it comes together, it feels natural because you've already been living in it. So I imagine just from James Gunn being like a trauma guy and doing weird stuff with Guardians, I think magic would be a factor. I also know he loves Constantine, and I want Constantine. So selfishly,
as a character,
that's my guy. Like I want Constantine as soon as possible. I don't know if we're getting him, but I know James is a fan of the character, so I'd love to start there.
Weirdly, if there's one thing I could see working in Matt Reeves' real life thingy, it would be magic.
Really?
I could weirdly see magic working.
I could see specifically Constantine working, like a British guy in a trench coat that just does stuff, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But like I couldn't see Zatanna. I could see Zatanna working in the DCU, and oddly, I could see Constantine working in Matt's.
I mean, Wonder Woman could have characters of magic. A lot of things that are just announced. I'm looking at Swamp Thing for sure. Creature Commandos had magic.
Oh yeah, we've seen magic.
Creature Commandos totally
we
had
have
magic,
seen magic.
Just I get it, but it's different with the live action.
Yeah, but you're right. We have,
yeah.
But that kind of speaks to what I was saying. Like out the gate, we had so much in Creature Commandos.
That is so it's already done. Does the Authority have any magic?
The Authority has magic elements, but none of the main characters are purely magic.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah, for a villain, I mean, like the obvious choice for people would probably be like Brainiac for the follow-up, but I mean, magic would be a great thing for Superman to battle against and a great way to introduce magic.
When I said earlier, I had like a whole pitch in mind for a Justice League level threat. Like Brainiac is one of my, like I would use him as a huge being.
But if you have a magic villain for
Superman
for Justice League,
then
it makes it a reason why you need a league,
right? Because Superman couldn't handle it on his own. And also, like, Batman being frustrated by the lack of, like, logic would be fun. Because he's like, what does this mean? What do you mean magic? But John and I watched Brainiac, and, like, that introduction, I think that's the most I've seen John have a reaction to a new character. To see him discover Brainiac was awesome.
Yeah.
I was bringing in John for a moment.
It was awesome.
Confirmed. John liked it.
It was pretty dang awesome.
Like, he's such a, I think, important character we haven't seen a lot of.
And for a lot of people who were introduced to Superman via Superman the animated series, he is the start of the whole show, and he's a through line villain. Also,
if there's anything that they're going to do, kind of like Marvel, like I've noticed Marvel always has the Spider-Man villain they didn't use last in their next iteration. Like we almost had Vulture in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4. Vulture showed up in Spider-Man 1. Like there's a lot of like Kraven was almost the villain in No Way Home. Instead, he got his own movie. If DC ever wants to like test like, do we like this? We've been crying for Brainiac since Tim Burton almost used him. The Kevin Smith script, like that's like one of the most famous unmade movies. I feel like Brainiac has like the opposite of Mephisto, where nerds are like, it's time, and it's like overdue.
It's also obviously doable,
and it's also so topical.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the most topical.
Yeah. All right, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Jay Rustin, thank you for the cue. This is a failure on my end. I'll just say that. It's July 3rd, which is more Sandman from Netflix, which this will be watched by the Reject crew. More importantly, where cats like Superman because of the focus on the dog, but no cats. Superman likes all animals, so I think it'll be totally okay. Yeah, I completely dropped the ball on. I'm the one here who's usually the one on top of like VODs and what's coming out on shows and release dates and what we have to do. I'm crafting the upload schedule and stuff. So I completely sometimes there's so much coming out and I miss something. And I completely missed on Sandman. So we are not prepared at all to cover Sandman. So we're not covering it, unfortunately. And there's such a limit on bandwidth with people here at the moment. So I'm sorry, we're not going to be covering Sandman.
Well, it's not a great time to be covering anything Neil Gaiman anyway. So.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, sure. I mean, but Neil, there's so many. But like how we talked about with the studios, it's like beyond Neil Gaiman.
The rest of but I also don't know if the show we didn't know it was coming out.
Is there even hype around it?
That's what I was about to say.
Shit about
like,
it. I feel like Netflix wants it to be buried.
If we didn't know, that could also be part of the factor of like it getting buzz.
Let me check one thing here, because Netflix has a huge YouTube channel, so I'm gonna see what the trailer views are. Oh, these are terrible views. Oh, that's terrible. The official trailer only has 1.6 million views. 2 months ago, the date announcement trailer has 840,000 views. This is really, really bad for Netflix.
That's crazy. I didn't know it was coming out this year.
To give you some frame of reference here, Netflix has 31 million subscribers on their YouTube channel. And a lot of times you can gauge interest by how many views a trailer has, especially for a streaming thing. That is awful.
Yeah, because it's not like a 1-to-1, but streaming is on the same interface as the network. So it's like kind of more applicable. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, like Squid Game Season 3 trailers, like the first one has 24 million views, and the show's phenomenal. It's huge, still a huge show. But I know it's like a big comparison. But anyway, yeah. Oh my God, I feel like the show's like gonna.
It might have worked out in your favor.
Might have been great. No one might have watched it.
You might have saved some stress with the edits.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, that's it for today. Coy, any final thoughts?
I think this is our last show before Superman. So I want to thank everyone for watching all the stuff John and I have been doing for the animated stuff. I want to thank you in advance for watching all the Superman stuff Greg and I are putting out after the release. We've never done a pre-taped episode, so next week you guys checking that out means a lot to me in advance. Usually we film these like within hours of it going up. But I most of all want to thank you guys in the comments on this channel and this particular show. I actually read them because it seems good. And I appreciate you guys reminding me that being open on the internet and being more available, like telling stories about me versus just like anecdotal news and keeping it surface. I like reading the comments here because it feels like the place I am the most me. So thank you for the most part receiving that and putting it back out there in a positive way. So just thanks.
It's really nice. And I want to say sincere, genuine, heartfelt things too.
He's got them. He's just what I said.
They're in there. And
Control C, Control
John,
V.
Thanks for setting all this up and joining us for the last 10 minutes.
You did say the things, you guys. It's like you're flying. You're riding your bikes all on your own.
We did actually. Yeah, I wanna say John set up the studio so well that in a panic, we are so stacked. And to speak to the Sandman thing, we are so stacked that John was actively filming a reaction during us setting up, and it was already so set up that we could go like boop boop and hope we were good, and then it was.
I'm not gonna lie, there's a part of my brain that's like, I hope we were in focus, and I hope that everything was recorded.
We checked like 4 times. I moved the chair to check yours. He's like, let me check you again. We moved the chair.
Yeah, but it should be fine. It should be fine. But thank you guys for joining us. And we'll see you next week. And keep a lookout for the live stream. Hope you pop in.
Yeah, live stream next Saturday.